bleeding out across the ridge, casting long shadows over a broken bridge. My horse is tired, but he knows the way through the fading light of a dying day. Ain't nothing out here but the tumbleweed and the ghosts of the men who couldn't succeed. I got a cold on my hip and a hollow chest, riding straight into the bleeding west. The dust kicks up and chokes the air, but I've stopped looking for salvation out there. Just a solitary man on a nameless trail, where the coyotes howl and the cold winds wail. Oh, the crimson horizon is calling my name. A land built on sorrow, a life built on shame. There's no turning back when you cross that line. Just the dust, the dark, and this rusted iron of mine. Yeah, the crimson horizon, it swallows the sun, and it won't ever stop till the running is done. I remember a town where the water ran clear before I traded my soul for a bottle in fear. There was a girl with a ribbon tied up in her hair, but I left her behind in the chill evening air. Now her memory burns like a brand on my hide. Every lonely mile of this endless ride. The stars are waking up in the velvet sky, watching me coldly as I drift on by. I pull my coat tight against the biting chill as I make my way up the crest of the hill. No campfire tonight, no place to rest, just the steady rhythm in my hollow breast. Oh, the crimson horizon is calling my name. A land built on sorrow, a life built on shame. There's no turning back when you've crossed that line. Just the dust, the dark, and this rusted iron of mine. Yeah, the crimson horizon, it swallows the sun, and it won't ever stop till the running is done. Sometimes I hear them whispering in the dark, the voices of the men who left their mark. They tell me to lay down my heavy load, but I'm chained to the rhythm of this dusty road. Lord, I'm chained to the rhythm of this dusty road. Tip my hat to the rising moon, knowing the devil will be coming soon. I'll face him standing, I won't bow my head. I'll keep on riding till I'm cold and dead. Just a phantom drifting through the sage and stone. Out here in the west, riding all alone. Oh, the crimson horizon is calling my name. A land built on sorrow, a life built on shame. There's no turning back when you've crossed that line. Just the dust, the dark, and this rusted iron of mine. Yeah, the crimson horizon, it swallows the sun, and it won't ever stop till the running is done.
30 years I've worn as a rusted star, and 30 more I've hidden my scars. But tonight the badge feels heavy as lead, weighing down the thoughts in my weary head. I hunted down a man they called Black-Eyed Pete, shot him down in the mud of a muddy street. He looked at me with a fading gaze, and I saw my own reflection in the haze. He wasn't much different than you or me, just pushed a little too far by poverty. Now his blood is on my hands, dark and thick, and the smell of the gunpowder is making me sick. There's a toll you pay for the gun you wear, a heavy cross that a man must bear. When the line between justice and murder fades, you're left alone in the cold dark shade. Yeah, an outlaw's regret is a bitter pill when you're the one left standing on the hill. The saloon, poured a glass of rye, trying to turn around out as a widow's cry. The piano stopped, the room went still. Everyone knows I shoot to kill, but they don't know the trembling in my hand or the sinking feeling in this barren land. I pack my saddlebags in the dead of night, ain't waiting around for the morning light. I'm leaving this 10-star on a wooden bar, gonna ride away, gonna ride real far, find a place where nobody knows my face, and disappear without a single trace. There's a toll you pay for the gun you wear, a heavy cross that a man must bear. When the line between justice and murder fades, you're left alone in the cold dark shades. Yeah, an outlaw's regret is a bitter pill when you're the one left standing on a hill. They'll put up posters, they'll hunt me down from every settlement and every town, but I'd rather be a hunted man out in the wild than a lawman whose spirit is so defiled. Lord, my spirit is so defiled. Starting washing away the track, and I swear to God I'm never coming back. just waiting for the day I join the dead. There's a toll you pay for the gun you wear, a heavy cross that a man must bear. When the line between justice and murder fades, you're left alone in the cold dark shades. Yeah, an outlaw's regret is a bitter pill when you're the one left standing on the hill.
Fire is crackling, spitting out sparks, chasing the shadows deep in the dark. I got a tin cup of coffee, black as coal, warm in the chill in my weary soul. The canyon walls are rising up steep and high, framing a river of stars in the sky. My trusty dog is sleeping by my boots. Listen to the hoot of a desert owl's hoots. It's peaceful out here, away from the noise, away from the cities and the foolish boys. Just me and the canyon and the ancient stone, and a quiet so deep it chills the bone. Embers in the canyon glowing so red, reminding me of the life I've led. A spark of warmth in a cold hard place, a fleeting moment of quiet grace. As long as the fire burns, I'm doing alright, just drifting away in the canyon. I think about my daddy, a hard-working man who carved out a living from this unforgiving land. He taught me how to rope, he taught me how to ride, and he taught me to carry my sorrow with pride. He's buried under a cottonwood tree, but tonight he feels sitting right next to me. I throw another log onto the flames and listen to the wind, the whisper names of the brothers I lost in the Civil War, and the things we fought and died for. The firelight flickers, memories dance, given by time a second chance. Embers in the canyon glowing so red, reminding me of the life I've led. Spark of warmth in a cold hard place, a fleeting moment of quiet grace. As long as the fire burns, I'm doing alright, just drifting away in the canyon. Tomorrow I'll saddle up and hit the trail, pushing cows through the dust and the gale. But tonight I'm king of this canyon grand, holding the piece of the world in my hand. Lord, I'm holding the piece in my hand. Fire is dying, turning to ash. night is ending in a sudden flash. The first light of dawn is painting the rim, and the stars are looking mighty dim. I kick out the embers, pour out the dregs, and stretch out my tired, aching legs. The embers in the canyon glowing so red, reminding me of the life I've led. A spark of warmth in a cold, hard place, a fleeting moment of quiet grace. As long as the fire burns, I'm doing alright, just drifting away in the canyon.
My boots are covered in Texas dirt, got a tear in the sleeve of my flannel shirt. I've walked from El Paso up to Abilene, seen the prettiest and the ugliest things to be seen. Every step is a story, every mile is a song. You've been wandering the prairie this long. There's a hole in my soul where the water gets in, but I walk with a swagger and a crooked grin. I ain't got a dollar to my lonely name, but I don't play the fool in a rich man's game. Trade a good story for a bowl of stew, and do whatever it takes just to make it through. Dusty boots and long, long roads, carrying a lifetime of heavy loads, from the Rio Grande to the Dakota snows, where the tumbleweed wanders and the I'm a drifter, a rambler, a restless soul with a broken heart and an empty bowl. I hitched a ride on a freight train car, slept under the light of the morning star, met a blind old prophet with a wooden cane, who said the world is washing away in the rain. He played a fiddle that sounded like weeping, while the rest of the troubled world was sleeping. I hopped off in a town called Lonesome Pine, where the whiskey flows like a bitter wine. Worked a week on a ranch breaking wild, wild horses, letting nature take its natural courses. Got paid in silver, bought a new pair of boots, and pulled up my shallow wandering roots. Dusty boots and long, long roads, carrying a lifetime of heavy loads, from the Rio Grande to the Dakota snows, where the tumbleweed wanders and the wild wind blows. I'm a drifter, a rambler, a restless soul with a broken heart and an empty bowl. Some folks say I'm running from my past. that's drifting life is never gonna last. They don't know the freedom of the open plain or the cleansing power of a prairie rain. Lord, the cleansing power of the rain. I'll keep on walking till my legs give out, without a single fear, without a single doubt. The road is my mother, the sky is my friend, and I'll follow this dirt trail right to the end. Just a silhouette against the setting sun, walking on forever, hurting no one. Dusty boots and long, long roads, carrying a lifetime of heavy loads. From the Rio Grande to the Dakota snows, where the tumbleweed wanders and the wild wind blows. I'm a drifter, a rambler, a restless soul with a broken heart and an empty bowl.
Yes, swinging doors are hanging by a single hinge, and the paint on the sign is starting to singe. This town went dry back in '85, ain't a single soul left here alive. Yes, the wind whistled through the empty saloon and the hollow echo of a forgotten tune. I tied my mare to the rotting rail, looking for the ghost of an old detail. This is where I met her, my sweet Mary Jane, before the sickness came and took her in pain. Now the street is empty, the windows are bare, and there's nothing but dust in the heavy air. It's a ghost town, serenade for love that died, where the memories echo and the phantoms hide. Every creaking board, every shattered glass is a monument to a tragic past. I sing her name to the empty street, where the desert sand and the sorrow meet. I walked into the church with the fallen spire, where we stood together by the altar fire. The pews are covered in a layer of grime, frozen forever in the sands of time. I took off my hat and I bowed my head and said a silent prayer for the sleeping dead. I found her grave on the hill up high, beneath the sprawling, unforgiving sky. The wooden cross is weathered and gray, but the love in my heart hasn't faded away. I laid down a wild desert rose on the dirt, trying to quiet the ache and hurt. It's a ghost town, serenade for love that died, where the memories echo and the phantoms hide. Every creaking board, every shattered glass is a monument to a tragic past. I sing her name to the empty street, where the desert sand and the sorrow meet.
They say time heals everything, but they're wrong. Sometimes the grief just grows too strong. This ghost town is a mirror of my empty soul, a shattered piece of a broken whole. Lord, a shattered piece of a broken whole. These shadows are lengthening, the day is done. The town is swallowed by the sinking sun. I mount on my horse and I pull the rein, knowing I'll never come back here again. I'll carry her memory wherever I roam, leaving this ghost town my broken home. It's a ghost town, serenade for love that died, where the memories echo and the phantoms hide. Every creaking board, every shattered glass is a monument to a tragic past. I sing her name to the empty street, where the desert sand and the sorrow meet.
I hear the whistle blowing miles down the track, a mournful sound that sends shivers down my back. The iron horse is coming, breathing smoke and fire, rolling on wheels of steel and burning wire. I'm standing at the depot in the pouring rain, waiting to board that midnight train. I got a ticket in my pocket, destination unknown, leaving behind everything I've ever owned. The law's closing in, I can hear the hounds. I gotta get away from these hunting grounds. The headlight cuts through the blinding dark as the engine pulls in with a screeching spark. Riding the midnight train to nowhere fast, trying to outrun the shadows of my past. The clickety-clack is a rhythm of escape from the hangman's noose and the judge's drape. Just a fugitive soul in a boxcar blind, leaving the ruin of my life behind. Climb aboard the freight car, slide the heavy door, lie down exhausted on the wooden floor. There's a couple other hobos sleeping in the hay, running from their demons in their own sad way. We don't ask questions, we don't say a word. Our silent confessions remain unheard. The train chugs up the mountain, groaning with the strain, piercing the heart of the great dark plain. I look out the crack at the moonlit trees and feel a bitter chill in the midnight breeze. Every mile we travel is a mile I'm free conscience is still riding right next to me. Riding the midnight train to nowhere fast, trying to outrun the shadows of my past. The clickety-clack is a rhythm of escape from the hangman's noose and the judge's drape. Just a fugitive soul in a boxcar blind, leaving the ruin of my life behind. Baby, I'll jump off in a canyon deep, finally get some peaceful sleep. Maybe the lawmen will stop the train and put me in shackles, put me in chains. Lord, I don't care, just let the wheels roll on. Dawn is breaking, painting the sky with gray. The rain has stopped, washing the night away. I sit in the doorway, dangling my weary feet, watching the world blur in a rapid retreat. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I've been. Just a rolling stone in a world of sin. Riding the midnight train to nowhere fast, trying to outrun the shadows of my past. The clickety-clack is a rhythm of escape from the hangman's noose and the judge's drape. Just a fugitive soul in a boxcar blind, leaving the ruin of my life behind.
Clock in the square is striking noon. The dust devils dance to a silent tune. The streets are completely empty and clear. You can feel the tension, you can smell the fear. He's standing at the end of the dirt road street, and the devil is waiting right at our feet. His name is Colorado, a killer by trade, with a heart made of ice and a silver blade. He called me out for a grievance, sold over a woman and a handful of gold. I tied down my holster, I loosened my gun, knowing that one of us won't see the sun. It's a final draw in the blazing heat, where the righteous and the wicked finally meet. Two men standing, only one walks away at the cruel, bitter end of a reckless day. is heavy, the air is so still, waiting for the echo on Boot Hill. Walking slowly, closing the space. I look for a weakness in his heart and face. 60 feet apart, then 50, then 10. The moment of truth for two desperate men. My palm is sweating against the smooth wood grip. I bite down hard on my lower lip. A hawk circles high in the cloudless blue, waiting to see what the buzzards will chew. He twitches his shoulder, his hand moves like lightning. The flash of the barrel is sudden and frightening. I pull my trigger, I feel the recoil kick. The smell of the sulfur is heavy and thick. It's a final draw in the blazing heat, where the righteous and the wicked finally meet. Two men standing, only one walks away. At the cruel, bitter end of a reckless day. The silence is heavy, the air is so still, waiting for the echo on Boot Hill. I feel a burning tear through my left side as I watch Colorado stumble and slide. He falls to his knees, he drops to the dirt. I'm bleeding real bad, I'm hurting real hurt. Lord, I'm bleeding real bad into the dirt. People cautiously open their doors, stepping out onto the wooden floors. The doctor runs over, shakes his old head, says Colorado's gone, Colorado is dead. I sit on the boardwalk, holding my bleeding side, wondering if this was worth the foolish pride. It's a final draw in the blazing heat, where the righteous and the wicked finally meet. Two men standing, only one walks away. At the cruel, bitter end of a reckless day. The silence is heavy, the air is so still, waiting for the echo on Boot Hill. I bought him from a trader down in San Antonio, a creature made of shadow
bruise and a heart and bone. They said he couldn't be broken, said he had a wicked mind. But I saw something in his eyes that left the world behind. His coat was like the starless sky on a moonless night, and I knew right then and there we'd be a fearful sight. I threw a saddle on his back and he fought me to the ground. He kicked and bucked and tore up every fence around, but I held on through the bleeding and the heavy sweat till we reached an understanding that I won't forget. Now we ride the open prairie where the canyons yawn, just a drifter and his shadow moving toward the dawn. Oh, midnight, you're the only friend I've ever known. Out here in the Badlands where the seeds of grief are sown, we don't need no company, we don't need no guiding light, just the rhythm of your hooves running through the night. Yeah, we're two of a kind, born to roam and born to fight, me and this wild dark devil that I call midnight. We crossed the roaring Brazos when the water was high, underneath a bruised and heavy, unforgiving sky. The current tried to take us, tried to drag us deep, but midnight swam like thunder, waking from a sleep. We pulled up on the muddy bank, shivering and cold, a bond between a man and beast that never will grow old. There's a bounty on my head from a town called Bitter Creek for a crime I didn't commit, but the law won't let me speak. They send their finest trackers with their rifles and their hounds, but midnight leaves them circles on the stony canyon grounds. He knows the hidden trails, he knows the secret caves. We'll keep on riding free until we find our shallow graves. Oh, midnight, you're the only friend I've ever known. Out here in the Badlands where the seeds of grief are sown, we don't need no company, we don't need no guiding light, just the rhythm of your hooves running through the night. Yeah, we're two of a kind, born to roam and born to fight, me and this wild dark devil that I call midnight. Sometimes I think about a little cabin by a stream, but I know that kind of peace is just a fool's empty dream. I was born to wander, and he was born to run, chasing down the twilight, running from the sun. Lord, we're forever running from the sun. So I brush his midnight coat and until it shines like glass. We watch the lonely seasons of the prairie pass. When my time is over and I take my final breath, I hope he runs wild and free, escaping even death. I'll whisper in his ear before I finally close my eyes. Go find the open country where the eagle flies. Oh, midnight, you're the only friend I've ever known. Out here in the Badlands where the seeds of grief are sown, we don't need no company, we don't need no guiding light, just the rhythm of your hooves running through the night. Yeah, we're two of a kind, born to roam and born to fight, me and this wild dark devil that I call his midnight coat until it shines like glass, and we watch the
This sheriff of my Coke County is a hard and bitter man with a shiny silver star and a rifle in his hand. He swore he'd string me up before the autumn leaves could fall for robbing that old stagecoach just outside the canyon wall. But I ain't sticking around to decorate his hanging tree. I got a fast-grown mare and a desperate need to be free. I left the campfire burning to fool his tracking hound and headed for the border where the muddy river winds. I got a pouch of silver and a pistol on my thigh and a fierce determination that I ain't about to die. The desert sun is baking the mercy from the land, but I'm pushing ever forward through the shifting, burning sand. I'm riding hard for the border, south of the warning line, where the lawman's jurisdiction leaves the world behind. Gonna find a little cantina in a dusty Mexican where a man with a troubled past can finally lay his burdens down. Yeah, south of the line, where the tequila flows like rain, and a gravel-voiced outlaw can't forget his heavy pain. I can see the dust cloud rising about 5 miles back. The posse is a-coming, thundering down my track. They're riding fresh
horses and they're thirsty for my blood. But they gotta cross the Badlands and the treacherous river of mud. I pat my pony's neck and I tell her not to quit. We just need a little longer, we just need a little grit. The river is in sight now, cutting through the jagged stone. A ribbon of salvation for a man who rides alone. I hear the crack of a rifle, hear the whistle of the lead, but it buries in the cactus a dozen feet ahead. We plunge into the water, fighting the heavy pull. My heart is pounding loud and my weary lungs are full. I'm riding hard for the border, south of the warning line, where the lawman's jurisdiction leaves the world behind. Gonna find a little cantina in a dusty Mexico town, where a man with a troubled past can finally lay his burdens down. Yeah, south of the line, where the tequila flows like rain, and a gravel-voiced outlaw can't forget his heavy pain. We scramble up the southern bank, dripping wet and tired. I look back across the water at the men the law has hired. The sheriff pulls his horse up, staring in defeat, knowing that my victory is muddy, raw and sweet. Lord, it tastes so muddy, raw and sweet. I tip my dusty hat to the lawman on the shore. I won't be riding north into his country anymore. I turn my pony south toward the setting of the sun. The chase is finally over, the desperate race is won. I'm a free man now in a strange and foreign place, with the wind of liberation blowing on my weathered face. I'm riding hard for the border, south of the warning line, where the lawman's jurisdiction leaves the world behind. Gonna find a little cantina in a dusty Mexico town, where a man with a troubled past can finally lay his burdens down. Yeah, south of the line, where the tequila flows like rain, and a gravel-voiced outlaw can't forget his heavy pain.
There's a place on the edge of a forgotten mining town, where the roof is slowly caving and the walls are breaking down. It's called the Weeping Willow, and it serves a bitter ride to the broken-hearted drifters who come in here to cry. The piano in the corner is missing half its keys, but it plays a mournful melody that brings me to my knees. I sit at the back table in the shadows and the smoke, wearing my sorrow like a faded, dusty cloak. She used to work the bar here, pouring whiskey with a smile that could make a weary cowboy wanna stay a little while. She wore a dress of crimson and a ribbon in her hair. Now there's nothing but her memory lingering in the air. Down at the weeping willow, where the lonely spirits drink, trying to drown the memory before they start to think. It's a sanctuary for the damned, a chapel for the lost, where you pay for your regrets, no matter what they cost. I raise my glass of whiskey to the ghost across the room, just another broken cowboy in the Weeping Willow Saloon. The cattle baron came and swept her off her feet, promised her a mansion on a fancy city street. He gave her strings of pearls and a carriage made of gold, and bought the only woman that I ever wished to hold. I couldn't match his money, I only had my pride. So I sat here in the corner and I watched her right outside. They say she died of fever in the winter of '94, and she never saw this dusty, broken valley anymore. I carve her initial in the table with my knife, and wonder how a single choice can ruin a man's life. The bartender just nods at me and pours another round, knowing I'm the saddest ghost that walks this haunted ground. Down at the Weeping Willow, where the lonely spirits drink, trying to drown the memories before they start to think. It's a sanctuary for the damned, a chapel for the lost, where you pay for your regrets, no matter what they cost. I raise my glass of whiskey to the ghost across the room, just another broken cowboy in the Weeping Willow Saloon. Outside the wind is howling, rattling the wooden door, but I don't feel the freezing chill of winter anymore. I'm paralyzed by yesterday, trapped inside my head, having conversations with a woman who is dead. Lord, a beautiful woman who is dead. The oil lamp is flickering, running out of fuel, just like this tired heart of a miserable old fool. I'll sleep here in the chair tonight, same as I did before, and wake up in the morning when the sun hits the floor. I'll never
this valley, I'll never leave this town. I'll stay here at the Willow till they finally put me down. Down at a weeping willow where the lonely spirits drink, trying to drown the memories before they start to think. It's a sanctuary for the damned, a chapel for the lost, where you pay for your regrets, no matter what they cost. I'll raise my glass of whiskey to the ghost across the room, just another broken cowboy in the weeping willow saloon.
Breaking gray across the prison yard. The air's smelling heavy and the ground is freezing hard. I hear the carpenter hammering out upon the square, building up the scaffold that will leave me hanging there. I got 20 minutes left before the preacher comes to call, to tell me about salvation as I stare at this stone wall. I robbed the Union Pacific back in 1883, and I shot a railroad guard who drew his weapon first on me. I ain't asking for forgiveness, I ain't making no excuse. I knew the path I walked would lead me directly to the noose. I've lived a life of violence, I've lived a life of sin, and now the devil's waiting to finally let me in. Oh, the hangman's shadow is stretching long and dark, leaving its cold and terrifying, unforgiving mark. 13 steps to glory, or 13 steps to hell. I'll take my final secrets to the bottom of the well. There ain't no redemption when you reach the end of the line, just a hangman's shadow in this heavy heart of mine. The jailer brings a tin of beans and a bitter cup of tea. He looks at me with pity, but that don't mean much to me. I ask him for a cigar and a match to strike a flame, to puff a little smoke before I leave this mortal game. I think about my mother and the tears she must have shed when she heard the tragic news about the life her boy had led. The preacher steps inside the cell holding his holy book. He gives me that familiar, condescending, righteous look. He talks of pearly gates and streets of shining gold, but my heart is is a fortress that is overgrown and cold. I tell him save his breath for a man who wants to hear. I'm walking to the gallows without a single shred of fear. Oh, the hangman's shadow is stretching long and dark, leaving its cold and terrifying, unforgiving mark. 13 steps to glory, or 13 steps to hell. I'll take my final secrets to the bottom of the well. There ain't no redemption when you reach the end of the line, just the hangman's shadow and this heavy heart of mine. They bind my hands behind me and they march me down the hall. I hear the angry crowd waiting just beyond the wall. The sunlight hits my face for the very final time as I pay the ultimate price for a lifetime of crime. The ultimate price for my crime. I step onto the platform, I look out at the town. The executioner steps up and pulls the black hood down. I feel the rough and heavy rope tightening on my neck as my life becomes a shattered and ruined sinking wreck. I take one last deep breath of the dusty western air and wait for the trapdoor to drop me out of there. Oh, the hangman's shadow is stretching long and dark, leaving its cold and terrifying, unforgiving mark. 13 steps to glory, or 13 steps to hell. I'll take my final secrets to the bottom of the well. There ain't no redemption when you reach the end of the line, just the hangman's shadow and this heavy heart of mine.
The smoke is hanging heavy in the back room of the bar, where the gamblers and the hustlers come from mighty far. I got a stack of chips in front of me, tall and gleaming bright. It's been a lucky evening on a sweaty August night. Across the Greenville table sits a man called English Bill, with eyes as cold as gravestones upon a winter hill. The dealer deals a river, the final card is thrown. The quiet in the room cuts all the way down to the bone. There's 1,000 silver dollars sitting in the center pot. An English Bill is staring at everything I've got. He pushes all his chips in with a slow and steady hand, and challenges my courage to make a final stand. I'm holding on to aces, holding on to eights, gambling with the devil, tempting the angry fates. It's the dead man's hand, boys, the curse of Wild Bill. A hand is meant to ruin, a hand is meant to kill. When the cards are falling and the chips are flying high, you gotta play your hand out even if you die. I take a sip of whiskey to hide my shallow breath. I'm dancing on the wire between fortune and death. I know he's trying to bluff me, I can see it in his jaw. A little twitch of nervousness that I just barely saw. I smile across the table, tip my Stetson hat, and say I'll call your wager friend, and that is simply that. He sneers and flips his cards up, a pair of painted queens. It ain't enough to beat me, and he knows what that means. I lay down my black eights and my aces black as coal, and watch the devastation completely take its toll. He reaches for his waistband where his silver pistol sleeps, a sore and angry loser who plays for bloody keeps. I'm holding on to aces, holding on to eights, gambling with the devil, tempting the angry fates. It's a dead man's hand, boys, the curse of Wild Bill. A hand is meant to ruin, a hand is meant to kill. When the cards are falling and the chips are flying high, you gotta play your hand out even if you die. Before he clears his holster, my coat is in my hand. The thunder shakes the rafters of this unforgiving land. He falls across the table, scattering the silver coins, as a chorus of screaming chaos immediately joins. Lord, the chaotic madness joins. I gather up my winnings, put my pistol in my coat, and step out in the alley with the dryness in my throat. You can't trust the turn of a dirty paper card, and surviving in this country is mighty, mighty hard. I saddle up my pony and ride off in the night, leaving English Bill behind in the fading lantern light. I'm holding on to aces, holding on to eights, gambling with the devil, tempting the angry fates. It's the dead man's hand, boys, curse a Wild Bill, a hand that's meant to ruin, a hand that's meant to kill. When the cards are falling and the chips are flying high, you gotta play your hand out even if you die.
There's a brown wall on the horizon, rising to the sun, telling every living creature it is time to turn and run. The wind is whipping frenzy through the dry and brittle sage. Mother Nature's winding up in a terrifying rage. I pull my bandana across my bleeding nose and brace myself against the gale that fiercely blows. I guide my cattle into a narrow canyon draw, the darkest, meanest weather that this cowboy ever saw. The sand is stinging like 1,000 tiny little whips, and the taste of grit and sorrow is heavy on my lips. The sky turns into midnight at 3 o'clock in the day, as a howling desert banshee tries to wash us all away, singing a dust storm lullaby to calm the frightened herd, when the roaring of the wind drowns out every single word. Just a man and his guitar against the choking, blinding sand, trying to hold on to his sanity in a furious, angry land. Oh, the dust storm lullaby, a melody of grit. We gotta ride this tempest out, we ain't allowed to quit. The cows are milling restless, crying in the dark. A lightning flash above us leaves an eerie, jagged mark. I strum my old clue screw, though I can't hear the strings. It's the motion of the rhythm that comfort slowly brings. I sing about green valleys and water running clear, trying to replace the panic and the overwhelming fear. I've seen the prairie fires, I've seen the winter snow, but the anger of the dust storm is the hardest thing to know. It gets into your clothing, it gets into your mind, leaves you feeling totally stranded and completely blind. I huddle by my horse's flank to block the biting wind, and pray to the Almighty for my multitude of sins, singing a dust storm lullaby to calm the frightened herd, when the roaring of the wind drowns out every single word. Just a man and his guitar against the choking, blinding sand, trying to hold on to his sanity in a furious, angry land. Oh, the dust storm lullaby, a melody of grit. We gotta ride this tempest out, we ain't allowed to quit. Hours turn to lifetimes inside this choking cloud, like walking through a graveyard in a suffocating shroud. Will we ever see the morning? Will we ever see the light? Or will we be buried forever in this endless sandy night? Lord, buried in this endless sandy night. Suddenly the
to a gentle breeze, and the heavy air begins to clear among the mesquite trees. The sun breaks through the haze with the golden welcome ray, and the dust storm lullaby slowly fades away. We survive the devil's breath, me and this tattered herd, and I thank the Lord above without speaking a single word. Singing a dust storm lullaby to calm the frightened herd, when the roaring of the wind drowns out every single word. Just a man and his guitar against the choking blinding sand, trying to hold on to his sanity in a furious angry land. Oh, the dust storm lullaby, a melody of grit. We gotta ride this tempest out, we ain't allowed to quit.
I came out to California in the spring of '49 with a shovel and a pickaxe and a fever in my mind. I left my wife in Boston with a promise to return, with a pocket full of riches and money left to burn. I staked my claim on a river high up in the lonely pines, working till my fingers bled in the muddy freezing mines. I'd pan the icy water from the morning till the dusk, living on black coffee and a hardened bread crust. I found a lot of sparkles that caught the midday sun, but every time I bit them, the shiny trick was done. Just iron pie laughing at a desperate foolish man, slipping like my wasted youth straight through the metal pan, down by the fool's gold river where the broken dreamer weep, where the promises of fortune are buried dark and deep. I traded all my happiness for a handful of shining sand. Now I'm just a lonely beggar in a vast and empty land. Oh, the fool's gold river took everything I own, left me with an aching back and a heart made out of stone. The years went by like shadows across a canyon wall. I never wrote that letter, I never made that call. My pride became an anchor that dragged me to the deep. I couldn't face the promises that I failed to keep, so I kept digging deeper in the unforgiving clay, watching my salvation slowly fade and slip away. Now I'm old and broken, my hair is turning white. I sit beside the river in the fading evening light. The
tent is full of patches, the fire is burning low. I got nowhere to run to, I got nowhere else to go. I look at my reflection in the water running by and see a foolish phantom with a hollow haunted eye. Down by the Fool's Gold River, where the broken dreamers weep, where the promises of fortune are buried dark and deep. I traded all my happiness for a handful of shining sand. Now I'm just a lonely beggar in a vast and empty land. Oh, the Fool's Gold River took everything I own, left me with an aching back and a heart made out of stone. Say there's a mother lode hidden in the ridge, but my hope is burned and crumbled like an old rotted bridge. I'll die here on this mountain, forgotten and unseen, a victim of the fever in a shiny empty dream. Lord, a shiny and completely empty dream. My rusted pan out into the rushing stream and watch it sink down quietly like my faded golden dream. I'll wrap up in my blanket as the winter chills the air and close my eyes forever without a single prayer. Let the mountains claim my body, let the river take my soul. I finally paid the heavy price of the miner's bitter toll. Down by the Fool's Gold River, where the broken dreamer weep, where the promises of fortune are buried dark and deep. I traded all my happiness for a handful of shining sand. Now I'm just a lonely beggar in a vast and empty land. Oh, the Fool's Gold River took everything I own, left me with an aching back and a heart made out of stone. Sun is heavy, sinking down like a golden stone, casting a fiery shadow on the desert bone. I pull back the reins and let my weary horse stand still, looking out across the majesty of this painted hill. The crimson light is spilling over the jagged crest, bringing a quiet close to another day in the west. The canyon walls are glowing like the embers of a fire,
rising up to the heavens like a silent ancient choir. I take my battered hat off and wipe the dusty sweat, watching the greatest painting that the Lord has given yet. There ain't no posse chasing, there ain't no bounty here, just the whisper of the evening making everything so clear. Oh, the crimson painted canyon, where the daylight comes to die. Underneath the heavy canvas of the purple twilight sky, it's the end of a long, hard journey on a rough and stony trail, where the ghosts of the old vaqueros ride upon the evening gale. I'm just a speck of dust beneath the master's grand design, watching the crimson painted canyon ease this troubled heart of mine. The hawk is making circles way up in the fading blue, gliding on the thermals the way they always do. He doesn't care about the silver, he doesn't care about the gold, he just rides the open freedom before the night gets cold. I wish I had his wings to fly above this rugged land and leave my heavy footprints out of the shifting sand. The shadows stretch like fingers across the valley floor, closing up the canyon like a heavy iron door. The heat of the day is lifting, turning to a sudden chill, as the world becomes a sanctuary, beautiful and still. I lean against the saddle horn and take a breath so deep, feeling the gentle promise of a long and restful sleep. Oh, the crimson painted canyon, where the daylight comes to die. Underneath the heavy canvas of the purple twilight sky, it's the end of a long, hard journey on a rough and stone upon the evening gale. I'm just a speck of dust beneath the master's grand design, watching the crimson painted canyon ease this troubled heart of mine. They say a man can lose his soul out in the empty wild, but tonight I feel as innocent as a newborn sleeping child. The blood and the dirt and the sorrow are washed away in the light as I surrender my weary spirit to the coming.
The mesquite wood is snapping, burning down to a quiet glow, warming my aching fingers while the desert winds blow. I've ridden 1,000 miles since the breaking of the spring, through the driving rain and the dust and the scorpion sting. My boots are cracked and ruined, my coat is wearing thin, but I finally reached the border where the quiet lands begin. I poured the last black coffee from the dented metal pipe. It's bitter as my memories, but it's boiling and it's hot. I watch the orange ashes drift up into the night, like little dancing fireflies taking a final flight. They disappear so quickly into the sprawling black, reminding me there ain't no way a man can travel back. In the ashes of the trail where the weary riders rest, with a sky full of diamonds shining out across the west, all the running and the fighting finally come to an end, where the silence of the prairie is your only faithful friend. I lay my heavy burdens by the fading firelight and surrender to the ashes of the trail tonight. My rifle is in the scabbard, my pistol's on the ground. Tonight there ain't no danger, there ain't a hostile sound. The coyotes are singing a lullaby up on the jagged rise, a lonely mournful melody that echoes and replies. I used to sleep with one eye open, hand upon my gun, but those desperate days of panic are completely over and done. I pull a crinkled photograph from my flannel shirt pocket of a dark-haired Texas beauty in a silver locket. I haven't seen her smiling face in over 15 years, but looking at a picture now don't bring me any tears, just a gentle warm affection for a time that used to be, before the cruel hard world took its heavy toll on me. In the ashes of the trail where the weary riders rest, with a sky full of diamonds shining out across the west, all the running and the fighting finally come to an end, where the silence of the prairie is your only faithful friend. I lay my heavy burdens by the fading firelight and
surrender to the ashes of the trail tonight. Find a valley with a river running clear, and build a little cabin for my twilight closing years. I'll plant a row of corn and watch the seasons turn around, and leave my bloody history buried deep within the ground. Lord, leave my bloody history buried in the ground. Mostly gone now, just a ruby in the dark, a solitary glowing in deeply quiet moon. I roll out my wool blanket beneath a towering pine, and listen to the wind blowing through the needles in a line. My eyes are getting heavy, my mind is finally clear. The ashes of the trail have washed away the fear. In the ashes of the trail, where the weary riders rest, with a sky full of diamonds shining out across the west. All the running and the fighting finally come to an end, where the silence of the prairie is your only faithful friend. I lay my heavy burdens by the fading firelight, and surrender to the ashes of the trail tonight. Unbuckle the heavy leather from around my tired waist. The gun belt feels like a burden that I finally replaced. I lay the cold revolver upon the wooden table bare, and wipe the gun oil off my hands without a single care. It's been my judge and jury since I was 17. The coldest, hardest master that this boy has ever seen. I take the silver bullets out of the chamber one by one, and roll them in my fingers, knowing that the killing's done. 6 little messengers of sorrow, grief, and pain that I won't ever send out in the pouring bloody rain. I wrap the gun up tightly in a piece of canvas cloth, like wrapping up a corpse before you send it to the moth. I'm hanging up the iron, I'm laying down the lead, I'm walking far away from the valley of the dead. No more shadows in the alley, no more footsteps in the night. I'm trading in the darkness for a quiet, peaceful life. My
trigger fingers resting, my soul is finding grace. I'm hanging up the iron in this forgotten, lonely place. I step out on the porch and I look down at the town. The moon is throwing silver on the buildings painted brown. The saloon is completely silent, the jailhouse is asleep, and the secrets of the gunmen are buried down so deep. I've outlived all my enemies, I've outlived all my friends, and this is where the bloody, violent outlaw story ends. I walk out to the water well and drop the bucket down, and pull up the sweetest water to be found in this here town. I wash my face and hands and let the water cool my skin, like a holy baptism washing away my heavy sin. I look at my reflection in the ripple of the pail, and see an old man looking back at the end of the long trail. I'm hanging up the iron, I'm laying down the lead, I'm walking far away from the valley of the dead. No more shadows in the alley, no more footsteps in the night. I'm trading in the darkness for a quiet, peaceful life. My trigger fingers resting, my soul is finding grace. I'm hanging up the iron in this forgotten, lonely place. Let the young boys have their glory, let them have their foolish pride. Let them learn the bitter lesson that you cannot run and hide. The grave is always waiting at the bottom of the hill, and the only way to beat it is to lose the urge to kill. Lord, the only way to beat it is to lose the urge to kill. Back in the cabin and I lock the heavy door, leave the wrapped up pistol sitting squarely on the floor. I'll dig a hole tomorrow beneath the weeping willow tree, and bury that old iron where it belongs eternally. I'll close my eyes tonight without a my head, a free man in the morning, sleeping softly in his bed. I'm hanging up the iron, I'm laying down the lead, I'm walking far away from the valley of the dead. No more shadows in the alley, no more footsteps in the night. I'm trading in the darkness for a quiet, peaceful life. my trigger fingers resting, my soul is finding grace. I'm hanging up the iron in this forgotten, lonely place.
Painted desert's cooling as the midnight starts to creep. The wildflowers are folding up to go to sleep. I'm lying on my saddle with my hat pulled over my eyes, watching the constellations spin across the endless skies. The air is smelling sweet with the scent of silver sage, like reading the final sentence on a very peaceful page. My trusty roan is grazing just a dozen yards away, resting up his muscles for the breaking of the day. I strum my old guitar with a feather-light touch. I don't need to sing it loud, I don't need to say too much. Just a gentle drifting melody to soothe the restless mind, leaving all the worries of the dusty world behind. Singing a painted desert lullaby to the canyon and the moon, a soft and melancholy, completely gentle tune, rocking all the weary cowboys to a deep and dreamless rest, underneath the velvet blanket of the sleepy, quiet west. Close your eyes and let the river of the night wash over you, with a painted desert lullaby to carry you right through. I think about the places that this old guitar has been, from the snowy mountain passes to the valleys full of sin. But it sounds the absolute sweetest out here in the open air, where there ain't no heavy walls and there ain't nobody there. The spruce wood echoes softly against the ancient stone, a comforting companion when you're riding all alone. The breeze is blowing softly, rustling the tumbleweed. The quiet, soothing whisper is exactly what I need. I let my fingers wander
down the rusty wire strings and listen to the peace that the desert midnight brings. No outlaws in the shadows, no sheriffs on the roam, just a wanderer who's finally found a place to call his home. Singing a painted desert lullaby to the canyon and the moon, a soft and melancholic, completely gentle tune, rocking all the weary cowboys to a deep and dreamless rest underneath the velvet blanket of the sleepy, quiet west. Close your eyes and let the river of the night wash over you with a painted desert lullaby to carry you right through. There's a magic in the quiet, there's a healing in the dark, when the busy, noisy world finally loses all its spark. The spirit finds its center out where the horizons bend, and you realize the journey is finally at an end. Lord, the journey is finally at an end. Music's getting slower, my hand is getting numb, the final chord is ringing from the plucking of my thumb. I lay the instrument down softly on the desert ground and let the mighty silence be the only living sound. The stars are looking down like a million caring eyes as I drift away completely to the painted desert skies. Singing a painted desert lullaby to the canyon and the moon, a soft and melancholy, completely gentle tune, rocking all the weary cowboys to a deep and dreamless rest underneath the velvet blanket of the sleepy, quiet west. Close your eyes and let the river of the night wash over you with a painted desert lullaby to carry you right through.
There's a whisper in the sagebrush when the wind begins to blow, voices from the history of a time from long ago. I sit outside the bunkhouse in the middle of the night, listening to the phantoms in the pale and lunar light. The talk of cattle drives that stretched 1,000 dusty miles, and the sorrow that was hidden behind their rugged smile. I hear the voice of Texas Jack, who perished perished in the snow, and a miner named O'Malley who had nowhere else to go. They ain't crying for salvation, they ain't begging for a tear. They're just keeping me company in the twilight of the year, telling tales of bravery and tales of foolish gold, stories of a wild frontier that never will grow old. Oh, the whispers in the sagebrush carry secrets on the breeze, blowing through the canyons and the ancient cedar trees. The ghosts of the old west are riding out tonight, fading in the shadows, dancing in the light. I pour a drop of whiskey on the dry and cracking earth, for the whispers in the sagebrush and the sorrow of their birth. Sometimes I hear a fiddle playing a ragged happy jig from a barn dance back in '80, when the harvest was so big. I can almost see the dresses spinning round the wooden floor, and the cowboys taking off their hats right by the heavy door. But the vision melts away like a snowflake in the sun, and leaves me with the echo when the memory is done. I pack my pipe with tobacco and I strike a sulphur match, watching the red glow spread across a little briar patch. The smoke goes drifting upward, joining with the phantom band, tribute to the spirits who used to walk this land. I don't find it spooky, I find it mighty grand, to share the quiet at midnight with this unseen silent band. Oh, the whispers in the sagebrush carry secrets on the breeze, blowing through the canyons and the ancient cedar trees. The ghosts of the old west are riding out tonight, fading in the shadows, dancing in the light. I pour a drop of whiskey on the dry and cracking earth, for the whispers in the sagebrush and the sorrow of their birth. One day my voice will join them in the whispering of the wind, when my mortal heavy body is finally unpinned. I'll drift across the badlands and the rivers running wide, a permanent companion on the great eternal ride. Lord, a companion on the great eternal ride. The moon is slipping lower, getting ready to depart. The whispers in the sagebrush have settled in my heart. I knock my pipe out gently against my boot heel toe, and listen to the silence that continues on to grow. The old west is sleeping and soon I will be too.
lost inside the whispers of the silver and the blue. Oh, the whispers in the sagebrush carry secrets on the breeze, blowing through the canyons and the ancient cedar tree. The ghosts of the old west are riding out tonight, fading in the shadows, dancing in the light. I pour a drop of whiskey on the dry and cracking earth, for the whispers in the sagebrush and the sorrow of their birth.
I've ridden to the ocean where the water meets the sand, the absolute final border of this sprawling western land. There ain't no more horizon for a cowboy to explore, just the crashing of the waves upon the Pacific shore. I sit upon the cliffside with my legs a-dangling down, miles and miles away from the nearest noisy town. The sea breeze carries salt instead of desert alkali, and the seagulls are a-calling instead of eagles cry. It's a strange and peaceful feeling to run out of open space, to reach the very ending of the human restless race. The manifest of destiny is written in the foam, and this wandering old cowboy has finally found his home. I'm sitting on the edge of the frontier, looking at the tide, with nowhere left to wander and nowhere left to ride. The Wild West is behind me, wrapped in memory and dust, and the iron of my pistol is turning into rust. The stars are shining down on the ocean cold and deep, as I wait upon the border for an everlasting sleep. To the eastward at the mountain standing tall, where I lived a life of danger and I answered every call. I broke the wildest mustangs and I fought the hardest men, and I know I wouldn't change a thing if I did it all again. The scars upon my knuckles and the wrinkles on my face are the map of a journey to this quiet, lonely place. I take the silver badge that I carried in my youth, when I thought the law and order was the only living truth. I toss it out into the dark and watch it fall away, sink into the bottom of the deep and churning bay. Let the ocean have the symbol of the pain I used to bear. I'm lighter than a feather in this salty midnight air. I'm sitting on the edge of the frontier, looking at the tide, with nowhere left to wander and nowhere left to ride. The Wild West is behind me, wrapped in memory and dust, and the iron of my pistol is turning into rust. The stars are shining down on the ocean cold and deep, as I wait upon the border for an everlasting sleep.
steady rhythmic beat, a lullaby of water washing up around my feet. The vastness of the ocean makes a man feel mighty small. A drop of rain returning to the maker of it all, Lord, returning to the maker of it all. Lighthouse in the distance swings a beam across the black, a lonely glowing beacon on an endless watery track. I close my eyes and listen to the breathing of the sea, the ultimate and beautiful profound tranquility. The frontier is completely gone, the cowboy's day is done, just waiting for the rising of the final morning sun. I'm sitting on the edge of the frontier, looking at the tide, with nowhere left to wander and nowhere left to ride. The Wild West is behind me, wrapped in memory and dust, and the iron on my pistol is turning into rust. The stars are shining down on the ocean cold and deep, as I wait upon the border for an everlasting sleep.
Trail is finally over, lay your weary head to rest. The sun has gone completely down below the quiet west. Uncinch the heavy saddle, let the ponies roam so free. There's nothing left to do tonight, just listen to the tree. The wind is blowing softly through the branches up above, a gentle swaying melody of quietness and love. The fire is barely breathing, just a single glowing coal, bringing warmth and comfort to your tired, heavy soul. You've ridden through the canyons, you've crossed the great divide, you've braved the rushing rivers, and you've taken every stride. But now the time has come to put the work and tools away, and close your heavy eyelids at the ending of the day. Driftwood and stardust floating on the gentle stream, carrying you softly to a deep and peaceful dream. The Wild West is sleeping, the prairie is so still, the moonlight is resting on the top of yonder hill. So drift away, my cowboy, let the nighttime hold you deep. In a bed of softest stardust, go to sleep, go to sleep. The outlaws and the heroes are all resting in the ground. There ain't no need for vigilance, there ain't a danger sound. The rifle is unneeded, the pistol is put cold. The stories of the wild frontier have all been fully told. Just lay upon the blanket beneath the velvet sky and let the soothing universe sing you a lullaby. Breathe in the cool and gentle air, release the heavy sigh. Watch the shooting stars fall down from way up high. Every worry, every burden, let it melt into the earth. Tonight is for renewal, tonight is for rebirth. The cowboy's long hard journey has reached its final end. The night is now your shelter, the darkness is your friend. Driftwood and stardust floating on a gentle stream, carrying you softly to a deep and peaceful dream. The Wild West is sleeping, the prairie is so still. The moonlight is resting on the top of yonder hill. So drift away, my cowboy, let the nighttime hold you deep. In a bed of soft stardust, go to sleep, go to sleep. No more dusty trails to follow, no more cattle left to drive. Just the peaceful satisfaction of a man who is alive. The rhythm of your heartbeat is slowing down its pace as you sink into the quiet of this vast and open space. Lord, the quiet of this vast and open space. The music is a whisper now, a breath upon the wind. The heavy eyes are closing, the shadows are all thin. The final chord is strung with a feather in the dark, leaving just a memory and a gentle glowing mark. Good night to the canyon, good night to the plain. You won't ever have to ride the weary trail again. Driftwood and stardust floating on the gentle stream, carrying you softly to a deep and peaceful dream. The Wild West is sleeping, the prairie is so still. The moonlight is resting on the top of yonder hill. So drift away, my cowboy, let the nighttime hold you deep. In a bed of softest stardust, go to sleep, go to sleep.